iPhone 11 Pro versus the iPhone 12. Don't make a mistake. So you guys don't want to make a mistake on the iPhone 11 Pro versus the iPhone 12. For the first mistake you would make is buying the color you don't want. Well, with the iPhone 11 Pro, you can get this thing in gold, silver, midnight green, and space gray. But if you want a color like blue, or maybe a reddish color right here, or you want a green, a black color, like a flat black, you got to go with the iPhone 12. It's going to be the only option. Secondly is price. If you're looking for a little bit of a cheaper phone, I think you're going to find it here in the iPhone 12 as carriers have deals. You'll have to find the 11 Pro secondhand, and often it's still around $800 or $899. So it's still up there in the price, but the reason I made this comparison altogether is because they're pretty close in this aspect. So the next mistake you don't want to make is the body, the ergonomics of the phones. Both these phones do have a similar size, although the 11 Pro is more comfortable to hold. The curved edges at the bottom of it, not the edge on the screen, they're both flat screens, but the curved stainless steel here make this phone a more ergonomically comfortable phone to hold in your hand. Whereas the iPhone 11 here with the squared edges does look nicer in my opinion. However, this phone doesn't feel as comfortable to hold, and it does give you 6.1 inches. However, keep in mind you are getting a lighter weight phone here, but even with the heavier weight of the 11 Pro, it's easier to hold in the hand in terms of comfort factor. Now this phone is actually a little bit better at water and dust resistance, so if you care more about that, get the iPhone 12. And if you like a little bit better drop protection, you might like the ceramic shield on the iPhone 12 here. So definitely a little bit more durable, I would say, in terms of those aspects, but the stainless steel on the edge is a harder material than the aluminum on the iPhone 12. So you can keep that in mind as well. There are trade-offs, but I would say if you want a more comfortable to hold phone, get the 11 Pro. If you want a lighter phone and you want a little bit more durability in terms of ceramic shield and the better IP68, get the iPhone 12. Okay guys, so when it comes to displays, let's make this pretty quick and easy. You have a bigger display for the iPhone 12. You have a smaller display, 5.8 versus 6.1. The iPhone 12 cannot get as bright, but it does get acceptably bright at 625 nits. This one can go to 800 nits. So the 11 Pro is a brighter display. Now when it comes to the resolution, the iPhone 12 actually has a little bit sharper 460 ppi versus the 458 on the iPhone 11 Pro, but that is so small you won't even really notice any different. They're both Dolby Vision, they're both True Tone, they both have dark mode. So these are both very bright and very acceptable panels to use on the day-to-day basis. But if you want a brighter display, get the iPhone 11 Pro. If you want a bigger display, get the iPhone 12. So the only mistake you would make is that if you wanted a slightly bigger display, you pick the 11 Pro, that would be a mistake. And if you wanted a slightly brighter display and then you pick the iPhone 12, you would probably want a little bit more brightness from the 11 Pro. So that's really the two major differences here in display. Now, when it comes to the software between both the iPhone 11 Pro and the iPhone 12, you're just not going to make a mistake here because you know you want iOS and you're getting the same exact experience on both phones. They do have widget support. They do have app library. They do have all the great things you're looking forward to. They will both get iOS 15, so they'll both be updated. They also both have very similar camera experiences as well, although you do get that extra lens within the iPhone 11 Pro. You see that one right there, the 2X. You do have the ultra wide for the iPhone 12, but other than that, I mean, the way you operate these phones, very similar on the day-to-day. You're not going to notice any difference, so it's just not really possible to make a mistake in this category. You know you want iOS, you're getting that on both. So we don't need to really waste much time here when it comes to performance because we do have an A13 versus an A14, so on paper the 5nm chip here on the right is faster than the 7nm chip. But in real-world everyday performance, most users are not going to be able to see this difference. It's very small, and the thing is that the iPhone 12 didn't bring promotion. So when an Instagram scrolling, when on the home screen scrolling through the app library, it's indistinguishable, the difference in performance. And I think that's the one element of the iOS experience that will change is when promotion comes to the next iPhone, hopefully, you will be able to distinguish a difference in smooth performance versus the different iPhone. That's not happening here between these two. Now, one thing I will state is they both have 4 gigs of RAM, so you can't really make a mistake there either. So when going back through those applications that we were just in, they should open them at a similar time in day-to-day real-world usage. However, I did find the 11 Pro sometimes would close or reopen apps a little bit more often than the iPhone 12, even with the same RAM. So that was a little bit strange, but neither of them do have 6 gigs of RAM. And moving on to talking about the storage, you can get the iPhone 11 Pro in up to 512 gig. So if you need that extra space, you'll be making a mistake by getting the iPhone 12 because you can only get this in 256 gig. And that brings me on to the cameras. Since we're already looking at these cameras, it's pretty obvious to see the difference as we do have a triple 12 versus a dual 12. Now, the iPhone 12 actually does have a better aperture than the iPhone 11 Pro has. So when you are taking night photos, you might get a little bit of a brighter photo. In addition, when you're doing portrait mode, you might get a little bit better blur in the background. So do keep that in mind. That will happen. If you're in the portrait and night photography, you might prefer to get this iPhone 11. But I will state that if you're into telephoto photography, so you want to zoom out, the iPhone 11 Pro is the better choice here when it comes to the camera. For some reason, I can't find my camera app now, but the iPhone 11 Pro is the better choice if you want the telephoto photography. However, once again, you'll be making a mistake if you want the better video quality, because the iPhone 11 here, or the iPhone 11, they feel very similar. The iPhone 12 here does have HDR capabilities in video, so it is a little bit more professional in what it can do in the video. However, both of them do have the ability to go ahead and have front-facing video at 4K 60, which will match up with the front. So either way you go, you really have to consider those little features. Which one do you want more? Do you want the telephoto lens to zoom, or do you want the better video quality and the better aperture for a little bit better night photography here on the iPhone 12 and a little bit better portrait photography on the iPhone 12? That's how you can kind of decide between these two. And when it comes to audio, green was the best color of this model year, but you could get in some. Both of them hit a very similar volume level of this model year, but you could get in several different colors. The phone also launched, and their loudspeakers are both on the bottom, but you don't have headphone jacks on these devices, so you're going to get AirPods or some Bluetooth headphones to rock these out. You know that by now with iPhone. But, stereo speakers on both, not a big difference here. I don't think you can make a mistake going with either one in that aspect. Okay, as a user of both of these phones, let me tell you where you are making a mistake. If you buy the iPhone 12 thinking you're going to get better battery life than the iPhone 11 Pro, you're going to be sadly mistaken. The iPhone 11 Pro has a larger battery at 3046 milliamp hour, and it clearly, every day I used it, got better battery life than this one. It also does fast charging, but the iPhone 12 does faster fast charging. So it can do 20 watts versus 18 watts for the iPhone 11 Pro. But I'm telling you guys right now, if you pick the 12, battery life is not as great as the 11 Pro. This phone, you'll be feeling it getting low towards the later in the day. This one might even stretch into the next day. However, the 11 Pro Max can go 2 days basically. So, both of these aren't the best, but the 11 Pro is better. Okay guys, you're making a mistake if you think you're gonna get better call quality and reception for the 11 Pro. The iPhone 12 has 5G, and I found it to have the ability to hold its signal strength a little bit better, and the calls they just sounded better in my experience than the 11 Pro. However, the 11 Pro is not a bad phone, and they both have acceptably loud speakers. But if you want 5G down the line for mobile data, you should pick the iPhone 12. You'll be making a mistake, as this phone does have 4G, and down the line, if you wanted 5G, you're not going to be able to take advantage of that with the 11 Pro. Now, in conclusion, in this video, we talked about the mistakes you would be making if you picked one or the other in terms of features, but I'm going to tell you why I think it would be a mistake not to pick up the iPhone 12. First of all, the iPhone 11 Pro does have that advantage in brightness. However, depending on how much you're using this at the max, I don't think it's going to be a big deal, because even though it's a little bit brighter, the iPhone 12 gets bright enough, and the trade-off you get is 5G and the A14. Now, the A14, like I said, is not that big noticeable now, but I didn't mention that down the line, as years go on, if you keep your phone a very long time at this price, you probably are, this phone will get an extra update. Secondly, this phone's camera, while it doesn't have the telephoto zoom, it still has the ability to zoom. And you really have to think about how much are you zooming, because I think the actual camera itself is a little bit better. The video quality with the HDR video is a little bit better. and you get a bigger display here. I think it's just a little bit better value for the money here, especially consider Qualcomm modems are in here as well. So yeah, I think the iPhone 12 is the better pick here. But the iPhone 11 Pro does have its pros over the iPhone 12, and if those pros far outweighed the iPhone 12, you should definitely consider picking up the iPhone 11 Pro. So if you found this video helpful, entertaining, informing, do me a favor, click that like button for me. Subscribe if you haven't already. It really helps out the channel, and I'll catch you all in the next episode. Thank you very much for watching. Nick here, and peace.